What we've done here is we had a guess up here. It guessed why something was happening, and it was the form validation, it appears, but why was the form validation failing was unknown in this case. Now we know exactly why form validation was failing, and it's this client field not being required or not being included. Okay. Let's see. What is it saying here? Fields are submitted, add a hidden field with client ID value. I would like the hidden field just to be sure. Let's tell it that. Do not change anything else. I want to make sure the client information does get sent. My concern would be that depending on how this is created in the back end, if it's not sending the client at all, then we could have an invoice that becomes decoupled as soon as we save it if we don't actually include that. Let's go ahead and restart. Control C. This one, we're going to run the Python again. We'll go back to our invoices and edit this. There's a client. Of course, it's not editable. There we go. That looks better. Got ourselves a confirmation. Okay, let's see if we can save other stuff in this invoice. For example, see if we can change it to paid and refresh it. That's changed to paid. Test a few other things here and make sure that's in place. Anybody need a cool invoice tool? All right. So that is using a MCP combo. We used the file system and sequential thinking, and of course the debug process to solve that issue. So now this debug log is going to get really full really fast. Let's just disable that. That fixed the issue. Please turn off the debug log. Don't need that filling up over here every time. If you do debugging, just turn it off at the end. You need a tool here. I can push this out to GitHub and get you a link afterwards if you want to clone it and build from it yourself. It's a really basic CRM here. It's turned off right now though. Okay. Now let's test that Brave Search. All right. We're going to test the Brave Search MCP and see what it can do for us and how it interacts. Now, Brave Search is a really cool little search engine. There's a reason that in Windsurf you maybe would not use it. That is the fact that they have enabled for Cascade a direct web search. So Cascade can go out and pull something up off the internet by itself if you tell it to. If you say, and in fact, they might be listening to me. You can see it did a little pop up here that it's a configurable tool call. However, a lot of these IDs don't have web access. And if you're using something like Claude Code, it doesn't do a good job with web access. So you could install the MCP and give it web accessibility. The Perplexity is another one that I really like. So let's restart this and make sure it didn't mess up anything in the process. So rerun that application, refresh, we're back online. What happens if you forget and leave the debug on? It's really annoying to have all of those logs there. It can slow the site down depending on what you're doing, depending on how the debug is configured. A lot of times when you configure debug, it's only in dev mode. So when you push it out, it's not actually happening in live, but sometimes it is, depending on whether or not it was configured correctly. And I didn't check the configuration to see if it was dev dependent. I just turned it off. If you check the configuration to see if it's dev dependent, then you're fine to leave it. But it can slow down the load and operation of the application. So you can find yourself, if you forget that you have a bunch of debugging on, you can find yourself wondering why your application that you're building is so slow and trying to debug an issue that is simply related to debugging. It's an infinite loop of problems there. The best practice, in my opinion, is just to turn it off as soon as you're done fixing the issue. Okay. New topic, new chat. Now, there is a feature that I want to add here. Right now, when you go into this, you can't open a client. You can edit a client, but you can't open a client. And maybe I can't edit a client. Is this online or did it turn off again? That looks like it broke it in the debug. Let's refresh. Make sure we get a fresh look here. Go, dashboard, edit. There we go. It just needed to be reloaded. You can edit a client, but you can't go in and view a client. And all of these projects and the tasks that are in projects and the invoices, they're all connected to clients, but you can't find them by client. In a normal CRM, you would be able to find them by client. You go into a client and see everything about that. The first thing we're going to do is use the Brave Search to determine how other CRMs do that. Kind of load context in. Use the Brave Search MCP. It says it's on and has 2 tools. These others are turned off right now. That's why they have 0 tools. The Brave Search MCP and research how CRM apps link all services to the client record and how they implement being able to open a client and see all of the tasks, projects, invoices, and other client related records. Then use file system, MCP, and sequential thinking to determine how we can do this for ours in the most simple manner. Do not make changes. All right. So that's what we have there. Okay, and this is what Brave Search does. Pulls up information and then digs into it a little bit more as it goes along. So it's loading up context. Building an app. You're unsure of which MCPs to use.
Could you ask Claude or another model which MCPs to use?
If you have them installed, then yes, you could ask it to determine which MCP would be most useful, because then it knows what each MCP can do. However, the models that we're using here for building were trained on data that does not know what MCPs really are. It doesn't have a bunch of information because MCP is such a new protocol and new servers are coming out every day. It's not going to have a ton of context about MCPs in general. If you don't know and you think that there may be a tool, you find yourself doing something over and over and you think that there may be a good tool out there that you should be integrating, use a model that has web search capability and ask it to search for you. Hey, I have this need. I want to find an MCP server that can help with this problem. For example, like I'm building one for railway integration. You would search for something like that and determine if there is one already out there that is known about for railway integration, and then build your own or not.
I typically tend to now, whenever I'm building anything, whether it be an app or a web, I always build a custom GPT for it, and I make sure it's got information about MCPs and stuff.
That's not a bad way to do it. Minecraft servers, I like it. Francisco says, I have asked Lovable, Base44, and others how to use MCP servers, and they told me they can't use Minecraft servers. That's a good example of context and training data missing. Tony, when it comes to the GPT, that's an excellent way to do it. Another super useful way to maybe bring all of that into the context of your application would be to use workspace rules or global rules or memories in here and provide all of that context that you would normally provide to the GPT. And actually you can keep it inside the context here and have an even more informed agent. And you could put in information about MCPs there too. Okay, it has gone through and thought for a while about this project. Let's see what it came up with. Base 44 in the last 48 hours. I saw 2 posts about it, and I have not had time to go dig in. Francisco, it sounds like you've used Base 44.
3 separate podcasts they've talked about it that I've listened to in the last 2 days.
Okay. Okay. Their press team is doing a good job. That's good. Francisco, have you built anything on Base 44? Do you have any likes, dislikes that you think we should know about? Better than Lovable today? Okay.
Yeah, actually, I have built like 4 already full systems in Base 44. Basically, a full e-commerce site, also an LMS, a learning management system, a full one. And my impression with Base 44 is that has a big context window, so it's able to manage a lot of information. It's very fast, it's very productive, and very good results with just simple prompts. And it's capable to also use backend functions with other platforms, with other integrations with APIs and stuff like that.
Really?
And very, very, very good for vibe coding. Actually, it's getting better than Lovable, which I used before also many times. I had a good impression on Base 44.
Well, that definitely sounds like something to put on the list to try. I see Tony mentioned it had a good database builder. Have you used the database?
It's integrated in Base 44, but it's actually supabase.
Okay, so they've just got a really tight supabase integration. Let me put it up here on the screen for folks.
Yeah, the only thing and I didn't like it was that when you use a Base 44 out, it handles users and doesn't allow you to interface with that. I wanted to make a feature to upload users in batches.
Okay.
And I couldn't because the user had to be creating the auth system before you can send invitations and stuff like that because of security purposes. So I have to work around with databases and stuff like that. But actually it works very, very good with Google also. With Google accounts, it works great.
For Google Auth. Thanks for watching. If you want to see more videos like this, please like and follow. And if you need help building or finishing your app, click the link in my bio to book a one-on-one Zoom call to take a look at your project.